Hello and welcome to the Random Wrestling Review and our WWE in 2026 series. We are now up to July, which means we're just over halfway through the year in terms of the save, anyway, not necessarily in terms of our release schedule here. I think we're in May now, and obviously the game is in July, but that is where we are, and we are looking forward to Fastlane today. That's what we're bringing you. Fastlane is the next show, the last PLE for the men before SummerSlam. Now, the women are in the midst of their Rumble tours. You might be able to see from this news story here. The Road to Women's Rumble Day 4 took place just yesterday, but what we're concerned with today is Fastlane. So I'll be bringing you all the results of what happened on the Women's Rumble Tour, what will happen on the Women's Rumble Tour, because we're still only halfway through it, in the next episode, along with the Rumble itself. But today we are concentrating on Fastlane. One little thing to clear up after the last episode, just to say a note on Evolution, which was our last show. Rhea Ripley obviously defeated Becky Lynch in the main event of that one. The show rating was just a 66, and I was not certain why that didn't result in a corresponding popularity decrease. Well, the reason is because Evolution existed as an event in the game prior to me starting this save, and it, for whatever reason, was classified as a small show, and I hadn't realised, and so it basically didn't get treated as a major show, which meant that it didn't kind of decrease the popularity in the way it should have done. I've rectified that now for future, but obviously for now it didn't result in some corresponding popularity decreases, which is obviously a good thing for me because it wasn't a particularly great event. Now, as you can see, we have done 4 days of the Women's Rumble Tour, but that's still to go for another 6 days, as we have a qualifying match for every single woman who will be involved in the Royal Rumble, and we had to come up with some creative ways to make that happen, because obviously there weren't as many as 60 wrestlers on the women's roster prior to this tour. But we're dealing with Fastlane today and the Fastlane tour. There's not been any real business news, so I think we go straight into it, to be honest. Starting with night one here, which obviously was headlined by a big tag team match. CM Punk and Sami Zayn faced Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton in a big tag team confrontation. But in terms of the notable happenings for the story, so Gunther cut a promo in which he said, come the end of Fastlane, he will not only be the ring general, but the world champion too. And that, of course, follows the fact that Gunther was the winner of the King of the Ring, which was our last male roster episode. He defeated Bron Breakker in the final to win the King of the Ring and become the number one contender to the title. He will face CM Punk in the main event of Fastlane. Also on night one of the tour, Chad Gable won a 10-man tag match for American Made over Judgment Day when Logan Paul interfered against Damian Priest. And this is following some needle between those two as time has progressed. Obviously, they were involved in a 6-man tag match at King of the Ring, but this is prior to that. Damian Priest and Logan Paul both got eliminated from the King of the Ring tournament when they drew with one another, and both were eliminated at the same time. Then we also had a promo by Drew McIntyre where he cut a promo asking why Roman Reigns thinks he can just walk into a title match at SummerSlam. Reigns obviously said at the King of the Ring match that no matter who won the final, Roman Reigns would be waiting for them or CM Punk at SummerSlam should they kind of get past Punk. And he challenged Roman Reigns to show up at Fastlane and face him in a match. So Drew McIntyre putting out a challenge to Roman Reigns there. Then on night two of the tournament, we had Bron Breakker cut a promo in which he said he's not feeling sorry for himself after losing the final of the King of the Ring. Contrary to that, instead, he is going to challenge Chad Gable for the Intercontinental title. Now, this is following the fact that during the King of the Ring tournament, Bron Breakker had to beat Gable to get to the final, and so he is now challenging the Intercontinental Champion to a match for the title at Fastlane. And also, after Evolution 2.0, which is obviously Randy Orton, Obafemi, and Lexis King in this instance, defeated Impact Generation, AJ Styles cut a promo on Randy Orton saying that the only reason Orton stays relevant is that he's aligned himself with young stars like Cody Rhodes, Obafemi, and Lexis King, and in particular, he hides behind Obafemi, the big guy that kind of is taking all the plaudits at the moment. And so Styles basically baiting Randy Orton here into a match that should take place also at Fastlane. We also then move on to night 3 of the tour, which saw the Street Profits tell the Usos that they will have to be better than they've ever been to beat them at Fastlane. This is the tag team title match at Fastlane that was set up when the Usos won a 4-way tag team match there to become the new number 1 contenders. And finally, CM Punk got a promo where he told Gunther ahead of their world title match that he knows Gunther trades on intimidation, but he is not intimidated. And so Punk will face Gunther at Fastlane. So not a particularly long tour, not a particularly detailed tour. We only had 3 shows between King of the Ring and Fastlane, and King of the Ring did set in motion most of these matches. I mean, obviously Gunther won the King of the Ring. We had Drew McIntyre defeat Takanoshi Takeshi. You'll remember that street fight match. We had the Street Profits beat New Catch Republic and the Bloodline win their 4-way match to become number 1 contenders to the titles. Chad Gable won the IC belt, which then obviously kind of set Bron Breakker on this course to go after the IC title. So a lot of these matches were set all the way back at King of the Ring. But ultimately, just to run through the card, we've got CM Punk versus Gunther, Cody Rhodes against Sami Zayn. You'll remember those two have been feuding for some time, and obviously Sami beat Cody in the King of the Ring tournament. The Street Profits will face the Usos in defense of the tag team titles. Chad Gable defends the IC belt against Bron Breakker. Damian Priest goes up against Logan Paul. Randy Orton will face AJ Styles. We've got another 4-way tag team match to determine the next number 1 contenders to those belts as Lucha Brothers, Rusev and Ludwig Kaiser, JD Madonna and Finn Balor and the War Raiders will go at it. And finally a 10-man tag match, which sees Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa and JC Mateo against R-Truth, Shinsuke Nakamura, Carmelo Hayes, The Miz and Johnny Gargano. We've also got, of course, Drew McIntyre, who has put out a challenge to Roman Reigns to face him at Fastlane, though of course there's been no response from the Tribal Chief. So, just a brief cut now, and we will be in to Fastlane. So here we are then at the TQL Stadium in front of 25,895 people, and we start with this 10-man tag match. The Bloodline, Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa and JC Mateo taking on Shinsuke Nakamura, Carmelo Hayes, The Miz, Johnny Gargano and R-Truth. And the babyfaces win this one as close to babyfaces are anyway, the ones that are unaffiliated with any of the groups in the company. They win. Carmelo Hayes pins JC Mateo with a Fedora Frog Splash to get the victory for his team. And a segment rating here of 53 to get things started off. Jacob Fatu was the best wrestler in the match with a 68 rating, and maybe we should have given him the victory, but there we go. Carmelo Hayes just did a 51, Gargano 57, so Solo Sikoa 56, and JC Mateo 54. So some okay performances in there. God, I really cannot talk today. I really apologise for this. Tonga Loa just an in-ring performance of 39. So that's the opening match. Crowd heat at the end is simmering. Let's hope they can stay at least that for the remainder of most of the show. As we go into the second match, and Damian Priest takes on Logan Paul in a match that went 10 minutes 28 seconds, with Priest winning with a South of Heaven. We had loads of interference in this one, deliberately overbooking the match with Bronson Reed and Austin Theory of the Vision coming in, but Dominic Mysterio and Joe Gacy equalizing for the Judgment Day. And in the end, anyway, Damian Priest gets the win. A segment rating of 60, which is really good. Priest is 63, Logan Paul is 61, and this actually was a very good success in pretty much every way. Then it was the 4-way tag team match as the Lucha Bros, the European Union of Rusev and Ludwig Kaiser, the Judgment Day of Finn Balor and JD Madonna, and the War Raiders went to war, and the winner were the Lucha Brothers, where Penta pinned Ivar after an assisted Fear Factor. You can see here Phoenix and Penta both in the 60s. Phoenix was actually a 66. Eric was the worst performer in the competition, 44. Everyone else above 50, but those Lucha Bros looking very good as they become the new number 1 contenders to the tag team titles. We did know about the Finn Balor and JD Madonna timing, just them not really having any chemistry as tag team partners. We'd got that note previously, but I thought we would ignore it just to get them on the show here, and it didn't affect the match rating too much. Next was the singles match as Randy Orton took on AJ Styles. The match went 15 minutes 45 seconds, as won by Orton with an RKO. Orton had a 64 rating and AJ Styles did a 63. Neither have been on top form since the game started, but given that Randy is part of Evolution 2.0, it just felt that he was in a better place to win this one. A segment rating of 62 with Orton going over. So the next match was going to be Drew McIntyre. As he comes out, cuts a promo, and he talks about the fact that Roman Reigns is saying that he's going to get the title shot at SummerSlam against whoever wins between CM Punk and Gunther. And McIntyre says he doesn't believe it's right that should happen. He doesn't understand why Roman Reigns thinks he can just walk into a title shot. And he calls out Roman Reigns to face him in the ring. A segment rating of 61 this. Instead of Roman Reigns, however, he gets Konosuke Takeshita, we haven't seen since King of the Ring when Drew McIntyre defeated him in their sort of hardcore type match. I actually can't remember the actual match type we had, but basically within that contest, Konosuke Takeshita took a stump bump, which basically he's been selling since that point, while Drew McIntyre was surprised by Takeshita, who came out here and attacked McIntyre, and the two of them then brawled all the way around the arena for 5 minutes or so as referees and other officials try to separate the two. A segment rating of 72 as these two continue their feud as we look like we're heading for a match at SummerSlam between the pair. Then we had Chad Gable versus Bron Breakker, and within this match, a big surprise as Bron Breakker looks like he's about to win after about 13 minutes. Seth Rollins music hits. We haven't seen Seth Rollins in this save thus far. The game had him injured until June. Seth Rollins made his return, distracted Bron Breakker, and that gave Chad Gable the ability to quickly roll Breakker up and get the victory in 13:51. Gable makes his first defense of the Intercontinental title, and Chad Gable did an in-ring performance of 68, Bron Breakker 67. This was a segment rating of 65, and Seth Rollins is back in WWE, and after the match he says, "I am back, Bron Breakker, and I'm going to be your worst nightmare." Bron Breakker kind of shakes off the cobwebs following the loss and then runs up the ramp, but before he can get there, Rollins has already disappeared backstage, and it looks like we've got something going on now between Rollins and Bron Breakker. Rollins, of course, was taken out by Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker all the way back in, I think, October of the previous year. We are kind of continuing that story here, even though obviously we haven't really, in general, picked up the stories as they were at the beginning of this save. But anyway, this is where we're going with this one. Then it was the match for the tag team titles between the Street Profits and the Usos, and this went to a 20-minute time limit draw, with which meant the Street Profits held on to their tag team titles. You can see here Jey Uso did a 73, Jimmy Uso a 63, Montez Ford a 59, Angelo Dawkins a 55 for a segment rating of 71. Very nice indeed, as these two tag teams go to a draw with the Usos, who are hotly tipped to win the tag team titles, didn't manage to do so in this one. Then it was Cody Rhodes against Sami Zayn, another 71 rated match. Cody Rhodes did a 75 in-ring performance, Sami Zayn a 63, and Cody Rhodes gets the victory in 16:39 by pinfall with a crossroads. This sort of detour of a feud for Cody, really, against Sami kind of wraps up with this one as Cody gets the victory. And so it's on to the main event, CM Punk versus Gunther, the moment that really everything rides on, basically. And it is a 78 rated match with Gunther winning the WWE and undisputed title. CM Punk did an 83 in-ring performance, Gunther 75. Crowd very hot at the end, given the segment rating here of 78. And CM Punk has lost the belt to Gunther. I can tell you that Punk was not happy about having to do the job, and I did have a look at protecting him and keeping him strong, but it wasn't making a difference. He was still angry about having to do the job, and so I decided ultimately to have him do the job without any protection. I didn't want to sacrifice the quality of the match either, and so yeah, we just said, right, you know what, like it or lump it, and Punk's gone in and lost the match. He won't be happy about it, but we have a new champion, and it is Gunther, sits atop WWE. And that brings us to an overall rating of 75. So we haven't lost any popularity, and we have increased some popularity in some areas. Gunther's match, I'm surprised Gunther's match against Punk wasn't as good as his match with Bron Breakker, but there we go. That's just how it has happened. In terms of addressing the locker room, well, we're going to give CM Punk a hug for losing the match and still being the top performer on the show by some way, I think, as well, actually. And what else are we going to do here? I think we're going to give some credit to Damian Priest and Logan Paul, because I think they did way better than I expected them to. And hopefully, me calling out Punk for some special praise will mean he's not so angry with me about having to lose that match. It's in Mexico where we've gained popularity here, 69s all across the board. And now to the media scrum. You recently made a new signing, Ronda Rousey. What plans do you have for her? Of course, Ronda Rousey arrived at the end of the Evolution show that we did in our last episode. I think we'll just go with I have high hopes for it, and that's Ronda Rousey happy. But others were not pleased by your response. Look at all these people unhappy about the response. Wow. Okay. Gunther won the undisputed title at tonight's show. Should we be expecting him to have a long reign? He deserves the opportunity to get a run as champion. We saw Jimmy Uso have an off night. Is his inconsistency going to hold him back in WWE? I'm sure that was a one-off. Currently, the average age of the big stars in WWE is on the older side, being 38 years old. With so many wrestlers no longer in their prime, don't you need to be thinking hard about where the next crop of stars come from? 38 isn't particularly old for a professional wrestler. Otis is coming to the end of his current deal. Do you see him signing an extension? We'll be offering him a new deal. Chad Gable's happy with that. Carmelo Hayes is coming to the end of his current deal. Do you see him signing an extension? I just say the same, I think, for that one. That's the end of Fastlane, and we have a new WWE World Champion, and it is Gunther. He is the new champion. That means that at the moment it looks like Gunther will face Roman Reigns at SummerSlam to defend that title. It also feels like Fastlane has set up a number of other matches that will be taking place at that one, but that is a couple of episodes away yet, because next up we have the Women's Royal Rumble. Thank you for watching today, and I'll catch you next time.